This is Backstage Bay Area, your all-access pass to the local music scene.
In today's episode, we're diving into the world of jazz, classical fusion, and contemporary compositions with internationally acclaimed violinist and composer Mads Tolling. A two-time Grammy Award winner and a Downbeat Critics Poll Rising star, Mads has collaborated with icons like Stanley Clarke, Chick Corea, and Ramsey Lewis. We'll explore Mads' groundbreaking collaborations with Kenny Washington and John R. Burr, the stories behind songs like What a Wonderful World and My Girl, and an exclusive look at their upcoming concert at the Piedmont Center for the Arts. Host Steve Roby will join us in a moment, but first let's kick off today's show with Blackbird from the 2023 album Ramblin'. This is Mads Tolling on Backstage Bay Area.
That's Blackbird by violinist Mads Tolling. It's from the album Ramblin' by Mads Tolling and John R. Burr, which is available now. Mads Tolling is my guest today. Hey, Mads, welcome to Backstage Bay Area.
Thanks so much, Steve. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Mads, you've had a remarkable musical career. You traveled from Denmark to the States and became a two-time Grammy-winning artist. Can you summarize what that incredible experience and journey has been like for you?
It's just been an incredible whirlwind for me, coming here. When I first got here, I remember my landlady in Boston, where I went to Berklee College of Music, who picked me up at the airport, said the only way that she could identify me was because I had a violin on my back. I literally knew nobody in this country. And I came here to study jazz and studied where it was born, and which was why, I went to Berklee College. And so I never imagined that, 25 years later, I'm still doing this thing and still doing music and playing with some of my heroes here in the U.S. So it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, you played with a cavalcade of artists, and we mentioned that in the intro for the show there. Does one of those stand out for you that you can share with our listeners?
I mean, going on and sitting in with Chick Corea was pretty incredible on a couple of occasions. But of course, getting my first gig with Stanley Clarke after jamming with Jean-Luc Ponty at my school back then was kind of a breakthrough and kind of an unreal feeling. So I will always remember that moment where I got the call from Stanley to go on stage with him. But there are a number of times, playing with Kenny Barron, Paquito de Rivera, all people that I grew up listening to is pretty special.
Incredible, yeah. We opened the show with Blackbird, which John R. Burr renamed Blackened Bird. Can you tell us about reinterpreting this classic song with a New Orleans twist?
Well, yeah, this is John's thing. So he basically came up with this thing. He loves this kind of New Orleans sound, Dr. John, and he totally redid this tune in his image, sort of combining what John R is all about, these open harmonies. He comes from this sort of Americana aesthetic, and then combine that with the sort of New Orleans boogie-woogie. Yeah. And he just did a fantastic job, and I love playing that tune with him.
Yeah, it's so different than the original, the Beatles version there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It has these really hooky kicks and sort of rhythm that just goes through it. And yeah, it lends itself well to this duo, I feel.
Yeah. Well, can you talk about how your partnership with Kenny Washington began?
Yeah, Kenny, I think I did a jazz festival in Sitka, Alaska in January, which doesn't sound so enticing. Maybe it was very cold. And that was my first real interaction with him. And, when I heard him, he was just a beautiful musician who has that voice, natural talent. I mean, I think that's something as a vocalist, you got to have a little bit. It's just a natural sound of your instrument is good. And he has that in spades. And then on top of that, he's, he plays saxophone. I mean, I don't think he does that anymore, but his background is as an instrumentalist. So it shines through in his music. He has that sensibility in his music that he's a real musician, so to speak. So you can do anything with Kenny. He's just open to anything, and I love the back and forth improvisational scatting that we can do violin to voice. It creates this very sort of special moment in the show. And after we did the Sitka thing, we did Yoshi's, I think, 2 or 3 times, and we've played a number of shows in the Bay Area. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to work with Kenny.
Yeah. I'm going to play What a Wonderful World next. It's from your 2017 album, Playing the 60s, and features Kenny on vocals. What made this song special for both of you?
I think it was just a perfect fit for the Mads Tolling, the Madsmen Playing the 60s album. We're coming up with these classic songs, quintessential songs that really we're gonna, kind of tied together in this album that is all from the 60s. So we did that. And then Colin Hogan, who is a fantastic pianist, keyboard, and accordion player, actually played a little accordion on this. And that kind of added this very sweet, warm vibe to this tune that Kenny just sings so beautifully.
Yeah, it just gives me chills every time I hear any version of the song.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's lovely.
Well, let's hear it now. This is Mads Tolling and Kenny Washington with What a Wonderful World here on Backstage Bay Area.
I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Whoa. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed days and dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? But what they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. But they'll learn so much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and smiles on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? What they're really saying is, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. Oh, but they'll learn so much more than I ever know. and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh yeah.
Musician Mads Tolling is my guest today, and we just heard What a Wonderful World. It's a collaboration he recorded with Kenny Washington. Mads, the San Francisco Chronicle recently dubbed Kenny the Superman of the Bay Area jazz scene. What a title.
Yeah, I know.
What qualities set Kenny apart as a vocalist, and how has his artistry influenced your work together?
Well, I think that he's kind of world class. He goes to Lincoln Jazz Center and does stuff with Wynton Marsalis, and goes all over the world, a lot to Europe. And so what Kenny does, I think, is, he's just a guy who, he isn't just sort of quote unquote a singer. A lot of times what you associate with being a singer is you sing the melody and you sing it well, and that's kind of your role. He hears everything in the song. He can go back and forth. He can improvise. He knows forms. He knows harmony, and that's what's really fun working with him. Besides him just having the most beautiful silky voice you can imagine.
Yeah.
So I feel that's what's fun with him, and he's been doing it for a long time. And I was so happy to see him getting recognized a couple of years ago, receiving a Grammy nomination for his album. That's, by the way, what's it called? Not What's the Hurry, which is great because it's Kenny's first album. I mean, Kenny is, I think, in his 60s now, and he just never, had the desire to put out an album. He finally did, and the first album he puts out, sure enough, gets nominated for a Grammy, which is very well deserved.
What an accomplishment, my gosh.
Yeah.
So the last track I'm going to play on today's show is another collaboration with you and Kenny. It's one of my favorites by the Temptations. It's called My Girl. What it was like working with Kenny on this tune?
This actually ties into his more sort of R&B side. Kenny is great at doing interpretations of the, American songbook songs and standards and whatnot. But this comes in a little bit more with the sort of R&B of the 60s, early R&B. And so it was just my arrangement that I put together has a lot more funk to it than the original My Girl version. So I put that together, and no problem. It just worked out for him to sing that just perfectly. And we actually ended up recording this with Khalil Wilson on the Madsman album, but Kenny sings in this live version that is actually from Yoshi's from a few years back.
Yeah, there's a little count off at the beginning of the song too, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's listen to it now. This is My Girl featuring Mads Tolling and Kenny Washington here on Backstage Bay Area.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day, and when it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. Well, I guess you say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? Talking about my girl, my girl. I've got so much honey, the bees envy me, oh yeah. I've got a sweeter song, baby, than the birds in the trees. Yes, I do. Well, I guess you say
That's Mads Tolling and Kenny Washington with their version of My Girl. You're listening to Backstage Bay Area, and my guest today is Mads Tolling. Mads, are there any new musical projects or collaboration in the works for you this year? Besides your show in Piedmont, what's coming up for you?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. I feel in February, I'm going to be playing with Vicki Randall from the Tonight Show, and she's a great percussionist and vocalist. We're going to be playing the Sound Room. And then I'm going to be in April, and that's, by the way, on February 21st, in case your listeners are interested. The show is just getting online as we speak here.
Okay.
And then in April, I'm going to be putting out a new album called The Masters of Jazz Violin, where I'm paying homage to some of the great violinists that inspired me to do what I do now, including, Stefan Grappelli, Sven Asmussen, who is from my country of Denmark, Joe Venuti, and Jean-Luc Ponty, of course, who I mentioned earlier. So we're going to be playing at the Hillside Club on, I believe it's April 18th. So that's going to be more like a guitar trio. I'm still putting together the band for that, but I'm excited, to have another album come out and play some of the tunes and by artists that really kind of inspired me to do what I do today.
That sounds like a fun album. Do you have a release date set yet?
I believe it's going to be April 11th.
Okay.
So and then hopefully we'll go on a little tour and play this music everywhere.
Yeah, that's nice. Speaking of upcoming concerts, you've got one at the Piedmont Center for the Performing Arts on January 26th. It's a collaboration with you, John R. Burr, and Kenny Washington. How did this collaboration come together for the Piedmont Center show, and what can the audience look forward to at this special performance?
I've played Piedmont Center for the Arts a number of times, and most recently 2 years ago where I did a duo with John R. Burr. And John R. Burr, of course, great pianist, and we have the album Ramblin' together that includes Blackbird and whatnot. Great set of tunes. And then I figured, hey, let's expand a little bit this year and include Kenny in the festivities, so to speak. So, and John R. and Kenny go way back as well. So, but the funny thing is we've actually never as a trio played together before.
Right.
So this will be a new adventure, and I think I can only imagine it will be a good fit because of all our history of playing individually together. So we're going to be playing some of the tunes that you hear today and much more, including, songs from the American Songbook and songs from Ramblin', John and my album, and maybe something unexpected like a Latin American tune or a samba or something like that on top of that. So hopefully we'll have a fun show.
Who else is joining you on stage?
And that's it. So
that's
it's
it,
a trio,
just the three of you.
John R. and Kenny and myself.
How fun. Well, let me remind our listeners that Mads Tolling, John R. Burr, and Kenny Washington will perform on Sunday, January 26th at the Piedmont Center for the Arts in Piedmont, California. Showtime is 4 p.m. and doors open at 3:30 p.m. I bet it's a good idea to get there early and line up. Yeah.
I believe it's open seating too, and for sure, if people are interested in going to the show, don't wait to get the tickets the day of the show. It may sell out, and you can get them online at Brown Paper Tickets. Yeah, but you can go to my website and find them there.
Yeah, and tickets are also available at the Piedmont Center for the Arts. There's a link there that'll get you to pick up some tickets. Do it today. And to keep up with Mads Tolling, visit his website, madstolling.com, for music tours and much more. Mads, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciated the conversation.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Steve. It's so great that you're doing this. That you're doing a great service to everybody in the Bay Area, and jazz lovers and musicians alike. So thank you.
Mads, I appreciate that. Thanks. Backstage Bay Area, we'll be right back.
Hey musicians, would you like to be a guest on Backstage Bay Area? Just email the host and let him know when you'll be playing in the Bay Area. The address is backstage.sfbay@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning into the Backstage Bay Area podcast. Don't forget to visit us online at backstagebayarea.com for more insights and stories. Be sure to join us next time for more engaging conversations with local talent and touring musicians. Until then, keep the music alive, and we'll see you backstage.